Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video and then I will go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and to talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Just so you know, the first 30 minutes of this video is the original video released by the Denver police for their critical incident briefing. So the initial video that comes from the agency is 30 minutes long. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, my name is Matt Clark, and I'm a lieutenant in the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. This critical incident debriefing is intended to provide you with information regarding an officer-involved shooting that occurred in the area of I-25 and 8th Avenue on October 21st, 2019. You are about to see relevant video footage and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case, so you have an understanding of the details of this incident. The use of deadly force by a police officer demands a thorough investigation be completed. The Denver Police Department is committed to ensuring a full and timely investigation of these serious incidents. This allows for a comprehensive examination of the officer's actions to determine compliance with state statutes and department policies. In accordance with legislation passed in 2015, the investigation of police shootings in Denver are conducted by a multi-agency investigative team made up of members from the Denver and Aurora Police Department homicide units, as well as the Denver District Attorney's Office. All critical incident investigations are actively monitored by the Office of the Independent Monitor. A word of caution. The images and information you're about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised. On Monday, October 21st, 2019, around 2 p.m., Denver police officers were called to the Car Wash Express at 6th Avenue and Santa Fe Drive on an attempted robbery carjacking incident. The victim in that incident was interviewed by officers and explained that he was cleaning the passenger side of his vehicle at the self-serve vacuums when the suspect, who was later identified as 36-year-old Adam Martinez, opened his driver's door and entered his vehicle. The victim reported Mr. Martinez was holding a box cutter type knife with a blade and demanded his keys. The victim was able to escape unharmed with the vehicle keys. He reported the incident to employees at the car wash who assisted him in calling 911.
Denver 911, what is the address of your emergency?
It is 603 Santa Fe Drive, Denver, Colorado.
Okay. And is that in between 6th and 7th?
Yes, that is right
Okay.
by where
Is
the
this a Car Wash Express?
That is correct.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
So we had a customer get jumped at knife point by an individual in a neon hoodie. He's running north right now through the alley.
Okay, you mentioned he was jumped. What was he trying to do?
He tried to steal your car, right? Yeah, he was trying to carjack.
Mr. Martinez briefly remained in the vehicle before exiting and walking westbound towards Calumet Street. Mr. Martinez was followed away from the car wash by other citizens who were in the area. With the assistance of civilian witnesses, Denver police officer Dwayne Parton located the suspect in the 600 block of Calumet Street. Officer Parton attempted to contact Mr. Martinez in the parking lot of 665 Calumet Street. Officer Parton drew his firearm and ordered Mr. Martinez to get on the ground.
Get on the ground!
Mr. Martinez did not comply with these orders. Instead, he began walking west through the parking lot. At that time, Officer Ana Munoz arrived on the west side of the parking lot and attempted to assist in containing Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez immediately directed his attention towards Officer Munoz and began walking directly towards her while drinking from a small bottle of alcohol. Mr. Martinez stated, quote, "That gun is mine," as he continued to approach the uniformed officer. As Mr. Martinez got within several feet of Officer Munoz, Officer Parton came from behind and deployed a taser towards Mr. Martinez. The taser device was not effective and did not appear to impact Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez then went directly towards Officer Munoz's marked patrol vehicle and entered the driver's seat. The keys to the vehicle were in the ignition and the vehicle was running because the officer previously exited the vehicle quickly to assist with containing Mr. Martinez. Inside the police vehicle that was taken was a department-issued AR-15 rifle. The rifle was in a soft carrying case on the passenger seat. The rifle was not loaded, but there were loaded magazines inside the carrying case. Mr. Martinez began driving the police vehicle eastbound through the parking lot and exited onto northbound Calumet Street. Mr. Martinez then traveled westbound on 6th Avenue. While Mr. Martinez was driving the stolen police vehicle, the overhead emergency lights were flashing. Mr. Martinez took the exit for Federal Boulevard from 6th Avenue and was observed by officers who were positioned above on Federal Boulevard. Mr. Martinez was briefly stuck in traffic but made his way to the top of the off-ramp by weaving through traffic and using the shoulder. Near the top of the ramp, Mr. Martinez had Officer Munoz's rifle in his hand and pointed it at uniformed officers who had stopped traffic on Federal Boulevard. Officers did not fire their weapons at this time out of extreme concern for the other people on the ramp. A civilian witness who was at the top of the off-ramp was interviewed and described seeing Mr. Martinez driving the police vehicle with lights on, frantically trying to get around her vehicle. When Mr. Martinez drove by her, she recognized he was not wearing a uniform and observed him pull out a rifle and point it towards the officers that were positioned on Federal Boulevard. Officer Wesley Keelan was one of the officers on Federal Boulevard, and his reaction upon recognizing the rifle was pointed at him was captured on a halo camera at Federal and 6th Avenue. The suspect continued northbound on Federal Boulevard and then turned eastbound onto 8th Avenue with multiple police vehicles following. Recognizing that Mr. Martinez was continuing to elude officers and had obtained possession of the rifle, Officer Keelan attempted to employ a pursuit immobilization technique, also known as a pit maneuver. Multiple attempts were made to pit the stolen police vehicle while it was being driven eastbound on 8th Avenue. These initial efforts were unsuccessful. Officers noted that Mr. Martinez continued to have the rifle in his hand and was pointing it out the window while he was driving the vehicle. In the area of 8th Avenue and Zunai Street, a pit maneuver was successfully completed, and the stolen patrol vehicle stopped. The police vehicle came to rest and was contained in the westbound lanes of 8th Avenue underneath I-25. As a result of the pit maneuver, Officer Keelan's police vehicle came to rest immediately next to the driver's side of the stolen vehicle, and the driver's door of Officer Keelan's vehicle was pinned shut. Other officers quickly approached from the west and observed Mr. Martinez was holding a rifle. Fearing for the safety of Officer Keelan and the other officers present, Officers John Allred, Ishmael Lopez, and Vincent Vasquez discharged their firearms at Mr. Martinez, striking him multiple times. The officers stopped firing their guns when they believed Mr. Martinez was no longer a threat. Mr. Martinez and the rifle were removed from the vehicle. He was immediately assessed by paramedics who were in the area. Mr. Martinez was pronounced deceased at the scene. Following a police shooting, any officers involved in the incident are separated and assigned to a supervisor once the situation is stabilized. Involved officers remain in the company of the assigned supervisor throughout the initial investigation of the incident. Through the investigation, it was determined that a total of 37 rounds were fired by the officers. Investigators recovered a black Colt M4 carbine AR-15 at the scene. There was no magazine in the weapon. The weapon had been switched from safe to fire. A 30-round magazine for the rifle was located on the driver's floorboard underneath the vehicle's pedals. The rifle magazine was not previously in that location prior to Mr. Martinez taking possession of the vehicle. The recovered AR-15 was confirmed to be the rifle carried by Officer Munoz, and Mr. Martinez's DNA was found on that rifle. Investigators located a box cutter type knife in the front pocket of Mr. Martinez's jeans. This box cutter matched the description of the weapon provided by the victim of the attempted carjacking. A toxicology report revealed the presence of alcohol and methamphetamine in Mr. Martinez's system. All officers assigned to uniform patrol duties have been issued body-worn cameras. These devices are generally worn at chest level by patrol officers and are capable of recording both audio and video. Prior to being activated by the officer, the body-worn camera maintains a 30-second video buffer. Once the officer activates the camera, the 30-second buffer video is captured, and the camera starts recording both audio and video. It is important to note that a body-worn camera captures a general perspective of what is in the camera's view. However, this footage may or may not be what the officer actually saw or perceived. At times, an officer's movement or hand positioning may inadvertently block the camera view. Additionally, the camera may not capture light in the same way as an officer's eye. Here are the complete body camera videos that are relevant to the initial contact, vehicle pursuit, and weapon discharge for this incident.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! 21 Adam, he just stole the patrol car, westbound 6th Avenue, 4330.
Santa Fe outside a suspect in a robbery, taking a first class covering, switch to 6, collection 1.
41 Sam.
She went westbound on 6th Avenue. Westbound on 6th, okay.
23 Adam, it's going to be Tom 4330.
Taser. His photo barrel, tattoos on his neck, blue shorts.
23 Adam, he's still westbound, probably coming up on Federal. Trying to catch up.
Westbound, open the vehicle. And I floated.
40 just got it pitted. And White Lake was. Can you track it, dispatch?
Copy, sir.
10 Baker, give me that unit number again.
Tom 4330.
23 Adam, I think he's right before Federal, stuck in traffic. I can't turn around.
42 Baker, I'm at 6th and Federal, where they at?
Should be east of Federal, westbound 6th. Looks like he's stuck in traffic, lane 1. I can't get around.
Okay, there's cars going west of Federal to 10 right now. Is that them? Here, he's got the AR out of the locked gate, so I'm behind him. This is 2200, I'm in an unmarked. He's coming up on Federal, he's got the AR. So I don't think he sees it here, but if anybody's at the top of Federal, he's coming our way. We're in traffic.
And confirming he does have the AR.
He was manipulating an AR in the front seat, yes, correct. Baker to dispatch, can you advise EEB of the unit number and tell him to turn that police radio off?
Adam. I did try to tase him before he got into the car. So I don't know if he has that in him.
110 vehicle EV is closed. We're trying to find another number for him.
Anything else? Student 6 in the area. Any updates?
Okay, my girl, she has the rifle out. Sorry, she has the rifle. The federal, he's rifle on 6th Avenue.
He's where?
6th and Federal.
411 Ida, hold the area. He's northbound Federal from 6 coming up on 8. He's right here, sorry, 7 place, right there, right? 11 Ida, still northbound on Federal. We're now eastbound on 8. Porter Baker, take him out as soon as possible if he's moving. Give me a car outfit. Give me a car on foot. 11 Ida, we're eastbound 8 on Kenosha. He goes down the rifle out. He's waving the rifle out the window. Location. 088. Okay, shots fired. Shots fired.
Get the fuck out of here. Go, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
Enemies, okay.
Right there. Shut it down. 180. 10. That's what's dead. Anything else that's your top down?
Anybody who's trying to get 25 at 8, grab a foot line. Grab a foot line.
Stadium ambulance coming up on your right. See if he can help.
All officers are okay. Anyone ambulance inside of that, just one sec.
Thank you, sir.
You alright, brother?
410 Victor, they have them covered up on 8th and Shooting.
What?
Plenty of cover here. Plenty of cover here. Leave lanes open for responding ambulance.
Yeah. Stadium was sitting right here. Who's in 7146?
Lunch for you, Jen. Suspect was shot.
You alright? Are you okay?
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
EMS is on 8.
He pulled an AR. We're going. Fuck.
Fuck, man. I'm gonna get Donna. She's left over there.
I'm on this and watch me to the original scene as well.
Okay, sir. Are you logged in?
No, ma'am. I'll get there short. District Supervisor here.
140 Baker, are you in route?
410. Go ahead and come up here. It's one of our District 4 guys that is involved.
Okay.
42, did I hear correctly? We have a District 4 officer involved.
Awesome.
421 David, that's Furry.
And
I'm responding.
camera off.
Alright. 411 Ida. He's got the 11 Ida. He's northbound Federal from 6th.
Federal on 6th Avenue.
He's where?
It's in Federal.
411 Ida. Hold the air. He's northbound Federal from 6th coming up on 8th. He's right here at, sorry, Severn Place. Right there. Right in front of you. 11 Ida. Still northbound on Federal. We're now eastbound on 8th.
40 Baker, take him out as soon as possible.
Give me a car and I'll pit.
Get a car on foot.
11 Ida, we're eastbound 8th on Kenosha. He does have the rifle out.
Waving the rifle out the window. Location. Hey, 098.
I saw, yeah. All right, seems good. Right, so they're after somebody. Okay. Vince, I'll be with you. Come here.
Keith, stay with him. Stay with him.
I shot. Right here. Right here. Are you all right? Yes, I'm good. Good, nothing better. Yeah, nothing better. All right. What's your name? Jason. All right, and Marion. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Can you give me a round up, like, point that fucking gun right at?
We're eastbound 8 on Kenosha.
Smash it.
He doesn't have the rifle out.
He's waving the rifle out the window.
Location.
Hold on, I'm gonna move in. Pull him out.
Coming up on your right. See if you can help. We want Sam. All officers are okay. We need one ambulance for the suspect, which is code 6.
Scene safe.
Thank you, sir.
The district attorney will review the details of this incident and determine if the officer's actions were in compliance with Colorado law. After the district attorney renders a decision, the Denver Police Department's Internal Affairs Bureau and Conduct Review Bureau will complete an administrative review of this case. The details of the case will be presented to a Use of Force Review Board made up of community members and police command officers, who will determine whether the officer's actions were in compliance with the high standards expected of every Denver police officer related to policies, training, and tactics. For additional information regarding the investigation of critical incidents or the Denver Police Department's use of force policies, you may visit denvergov.org/police. Thank you for taking the time to view this critical incident briefing.
All right, let's get into it. So let's go back to the beginning. Actually, the very beginning.
Police officers were called to the Car Wash Express at 6th Avenue and Santa Fe Drive on an attempted robbery carjacking incident. The victim in that incident was interviewed by officers and explained that he was cleaning the passenger side of his vehicle at the self-serve vacuums when the suspect, who was later identified as 36-year-old Adam Martinez, opened his driver's door and entered his vehicle. The victim reported Mr. Martinez was holding a box cutter type knife with a blade and demanded his keys. The victim was able to escape unharmed with the vehicle keys. He reported the incident to employees at the car wash who assisted him in calling 911. He reported his keys. The victim was able to escape
This guy was out doing normal stuff at the car wash. Now, this brings up the topic of, personal security when you're out doing normal shit. Luckily for this guy, he was able to back away and take the car keys with him and avoid this guy stealing his car and then destroying it, whatever. And he'd be without a vehicle for some time until his insurance was able to possibly help cover for a rental, or he'd be able to get the means to have a rental or something in place with a vehicle being down and out. So, that in of itself, if you are a person who's, you've been using a vehicle for quite some time, you're in your job, you've been at your job for the last few years, you're going back and forth every day with your vehicle to work, you kind of depend on that vehicle. When that vehicle suddenly disappears, that affects your whole life. And especially, that's just a job. What about kids in school, daycare, all kinds of stuff. A vehicle is almost like a lifeline for some people. There's a lot of your life revolves around a vehicle. So luckily for him, he was able to get away with the car keys and the bad guy wasn't able to steal it. But with that being said, with so much revolving in your life around a vehicle, vehicle tactics comes into play. Now, obviously, this wasn't a scenario that required shooting through a windshield or anything like that. The vehicle is parked. It's not running, and stationary. He's just using the vacuum to vacuum stuff out. When you're bent over like that and you are task focused on vacuuming and things like that, that takes your situational awareness away, and you're not able to fully 100% pay attention to things that are going on around you when you're bent over your passenger seat area with the vacuum cleaner, cleaning up all the spilled chip crumbs or whatever that may be in your vehicle. This is where, if you have a significant other, bringing your significant other with you so that you have, two pairs of eyes looking around and being able to maintain situational awareness while you're cleaning. Choosing a good place to clean at. So each town's different. Some towns may have more car washes than the other. I would avoid using car washes in shady parts of town. Now, that doesn't mean that, you can pick the best part of town and nothing's ever going to happen. This very well could have been a decent part of town, and, some crazy quack made his way through there with the box cutter. But location, location, location. If you're in the shit side of town, then you can expect shit things to happen in the shit side of town. So don't go to a car wash on the shitty side of town. Avoid those shitheads, right? Go to a nicer side of town. If you have to pay a couple extra dollars more for a car wash, then by all means, pay the extra couple dollars versus putting yourself at risk in the crappy ass part of town. Um, a shop vac at home, I think, works out pretty good. So you can take out the equation of having to go to a car wash if you just do everything at home. Have the shop vac, extension cord. You can vacuum your own vehicle, use your own garden hose to wash your own vehicle, etc. Now, if you live in an apartment complex, maybe that's a little bit different. Maybe you could run into some of these same problems if you live in a bad apartment complex. But we need to maintain the situational awareness when we're cleaning the vehicle. And so it can be a little difficult to do that when you're, like I said, you're bent over vacuuming. So doing stuff in intervals, as you're bent over vacuuming, pop your head up, look around, do a scan, see if there's anyone trying to pay attention to you. Because if you think about this from the predator standpoint, think about try to imagine yourself as the bad guy. Who is a better target? The person who's been bent over for the last minute and all you see is their butt and you can't see their face. You obviously can see that they're not looking around. Would they be an easier target, or would the person who's kind of squatted down a little bit vacuuming, but you see their head on a swivel looking around, are they a good target or are they a bad target? Make yourself a bad target. Make yourself undesirable. So instead of being bent all the way over and just trying to focus so much on getting those little cheese crumbs or whatever is in your seat, perhaps squat down a little bit, or even sit somewhat backwards and put your butt on the frame of the vehicle and kind of basically with your back to the door and dashboard kind of area, setting your butt on the frame of the vehicle next to the seat, and you can still vacuum out the floorboard and under the seat, but you're rotating your body and you're having it facing outwards away or back to the rear of the vehicle where people will be making that approach, and you can maintain a better visual that way, and someone wouldn't be able to get the drop on you very well. If you're unable to do that, then at least poking your head up intermittently here and there to take a quick look around, make sure no one's making a fast approach on your rear or anything like that. If you're just bent over for the whole time trying to vacuum and you're not really paying attention to your back, that's when the predators start to take notice and see you as a juicy target.
Unharmed with the vehicle keys. He reported the incident to employees at the car wash who assisted him in calling 911
Skip.
before exiting and walking westbound towards Calumet Street. Mr. Martinez was followed away from the car wash by other citizens who were in the area. With the assistance of civilian witnesses, car wash by other citizens who were in the area.
Now, I understand other people wanting to see to it that this guy gets caught for the bad thing that he just did. That's natural. Everyone wants to see the bad guy get caught. This guy has an edged weapon. This guy, I don't know if he has anything at all. If this dude really truly wanted to, he could turn and attack in an instant and really fuck this guy up with that razor blade. So you have to ask yourself, is this worth getting involved in? Is this your fight? Is this your problem? If you are going to be the type of person to sort of follow a bad guy and observe and report and relay to 911, then do it safely. Like, you don't have to get this freaking close to someone. You can maintain a really good distance on someone and keep an eye on them. You can follow in a vehicle with your doors locked and do it in a much safer manner. But overall, I just do not recommend following bad guys like this just to, see to it that the police get there and arrest them. There's no sense in putting yourself at risk of becoming a victim yourself for something that initially had nothing to do with you whatsoever. I mean, how shitty would it be to get fucking stabbed to death because you witnessed this dude try to steal some shit out of a dude's car and you followed them and tried to relay that person's position to the police, and then they stabbed you to death? Like, they didn't even kill you over your own shit. I mean, that would, being killed would suck in that instance, but for something that doesn't even involve you at all, that, I think that's just kind of adds insult. It just makes it even worse. So don't be getting involved in shit that doesn't pertain to you. And if you do get involved in other people's stuff, do it smartly, do it safely, have better distance involved. And, you should always be armed. Now, in this instance, would you be walking with your gun out? No, because, unless you can see this dude's got a weapon in his hand, at that point, you just need to back the hell off and not go any further because it's not your job or your responsibility to be pursuing this person or whatever. So if there's a weapon involved, don't even continue. Just back off and wait for police. But do it smartly and safely.
With the assistance of civilian witnesses, Denver police officer Dwayne Parton located the suspect in the 600 block of Calumet Street. Officer Parton attempted to contact Parton, drew his firearm, and comply with these. At that time, Officer Anna Nunez arrived on the west side of the parking lot and attempted to assist in containing Mr. Martinez.
We'll go straight into this first guy's video. All right, body cam 1. We'll back this up one more time. So it looks like he had his taser out. Back this up even more. So he's in the vehicle. He's driving along. He's operating his microphone. He's about to pull up on scene. He puts the mic down. He reaches over to his little go bag and he pulls a taser out. Now, I don't know if this is where he always keeps his taser or if he was on the call and he just pulled it out and set it there so that he could grab it really quickly. But he gets out and he automatically has this guy at taser. Well, I'm sorry. Take that back.
Get on the ground!
It wasn't his gun. Hold on. What did he grab here? It's a taser. Okay, so he did grab the taser. All right. Okay, so very quickly it happened. He transitioned it into his left hand. He gets out, throws the car in park. Then he gets his real gun out. All right. So that was a quick switcheroo right there. I thought, how the hell? All right, so he's got him at gunpoint with his real gun. He's got the taser in his left hand, and he turns his camera on. Now, this guy was wearing a kind of a yellowish-looking hoodie earlier. He's shedded that. Who knows where it's at this point. But gets this dude at gunpoint, gives him verbal commands, and the dude's not paying attention. Typical shitbag.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
So he has said something to her like, I'm going to get that gun, or I forget exactly what it was that he said to her. They explained it earlier, what he said. But, she hops out of her vehicle, and her vehicle's obviously running with the car door open. Uh, this guy has turned away from the male officer and is headed this way. Before she rolls up, presumably this is his route he's going to take to escape. Um, but now that she is here, um, I think it's possible that he got it in his head that, you know what, I'm just going to steal her car and take off with it. So the officer deploys taser, has no effect whatsoever. And then, of course, the woman is back behind this wall area. We can't see her. Bad guy's in the car, and he's taken off. Now, you would be surprised about how many times people steal police cars. Um, it's actually so much of a problem that there are companies that produce products to make it harder to steal police cars. I can't remember the exact name of it, but let's. Well, I can't remember the name of it, but they're basically these products you can get, and your vehicle's on, it's running. You come to a park, throw the vehicle in park, and you can press a button, flip a switch, and if someone gets in that vehicle and they try to put the vehicle in drive, or if they press the brake without hitting a button or a switch, it shuts the vehicle off. It's an anti-theft device. Um, Not all of these vehicles come with that kind of feature built into it. These are kind of aftermarket products that you buy and have installed. But with it, with these kind of things occurring so much and so often, I think that this kind of technology should be included by the manufacturer. I know that some ambulances have this kind of anti-theft technology, because an ambulance has to have a refrigerator in it and everything for the drugs. So when the ambulance is at the ambulance station, they obviously turn the engine off, but they'll take a power plug and they'll plug it into the vehicle, and that keeps the fridge inside the ambulance turned on, and keeps some other things turned on, like chargers and stuff like that for flashlights and other equipment. So when that ambulance leaves the station, it can't just turn its engine off while it's sitting on the side of the road, because it still needs to keep that fridge cooled, and it still needs to keep other things powered up. So their vehicles are left running all the time, and there are anti-theft devices that are made so that if someone tries to throw that ambulance in drive without doing something first, then it turns the engine off. And uh, these things exist for police cars, and you as a regular person can buy this kind of thing as well and put it in your vehicle. If you do something like DoorDash or Uber or anything where you're basically using your vehicle for service, and you can find yourself getting out of your vehicle, multiple times, and it's inconvenient to turn the vehicle off or whatnot. That's a good product to have, to be able to put in there, so that when you stop, you just put the vehicle in park, you get out, go do your thing, and while you're doing your thing, someone tries to jump in and drive off, it just shuts the engine off. I also think that these manufacturers should also build in remote kill switch technology. So here later on, as they're going down the road, you'll hear the officer, some officer on the radio talking to dispatch about killing the radio in that car. And Motorola has a feature built into their radio systems where the dispatchers can remotely turn off a radio for that on the system. So, for example, your portable radio, it has its own unique identifier, radio 411. It's not that short. It's actually a longer number than that. But let's just say, radio 411. The dispatcher can, from their terminal, go through the list, find radio 411, and then they can basically brick that radio. They click a button, and no more transmissions go to that radio. That radio is unable to transmit. It won't do any. It turns it into a brick. And that's what they're talking about on the radio later on down the pursuit. There needs to be a future like that with service vehicles, fleet vehicles. Ford makes a pretty good amount of money selling to police agencies and fire departments and other municipalities. Same with Dodge. I think that if these people are going to be making decent amount of money off governmental entities, then they should for sure offer some type of better fleet management package with the vehicles that should come for the government that would allow them to remotely disable a vehicle. Like I said, people stealing police cars is a lot more common than what you think. Even ambulances, people steal ambulances more than what you would think. So he deploys taser and he takes off on foot. And he gets around that corner to keep himself protected from being run over because this guy's now in the car taking off. Here she runs. And I don't really pick up where she goes after that point. She may have jumped in the car with someone else and joined in on the pursuit, but where she goes, I don't know. All right, so this guy, from his perspective, he makes a wrong turn at some point.
Still westbound.
I think it's up here.
23 Avenue, still westbound. Probably coming up on Federal. Trying to catch up.
Right now, put the vehicle in that 40.
40 minutes, and right leg was. Jimmy Frank is dispatch.
Copy, sir.
10 Baker, give me that unit number again.
Tom 4330.
23 Adam, I think he's right before Federal, stuck in traffic. I can't turn around.
42 Baker, I'm at 6 on Federal, where they at?
Yeah, so he made a wrong turn. He went a little too far to the right, and now he's in a place where he can't turn around. So he actually passes him up.
Federal, westbound 6, looks like he's stuck in traffic, lane 1. I can't get around.
Okay, there's cars going west of Federal.
All right, so he actually has to drive around for a little bit.
Police radio off.
Here.
Can you advise AEB of the unit number and tell them to turn that police radio off?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier. You hear someone talking on the radio about turning the radio off, and that's a future that's offered for these large radio systems. You can remotely disable any radio within the system. So basically, all these radios, they're all connected to a server in a sense. So whether or not they're digital, they talk to the server, and when the radio keys up, basically that radio is keying up, it's going to the tower, it's making a connection, and while it's making that connection, it's also making a connection to the server, and the server is saying, yeah, you're cool to talk on the radio. It happens super fast. You press the button, and two things happen. It reaches the tower, and then as it hits that tower, it talks to the server, and the server recognizes the radio and says, you're cool to talk. So when they're able to do that, they can remote disable a radio, and it sends a code to that radio saying you're no longer cool to talk. where actually I guess the server will recognize that that radio is no longer cool to talk, and when that radio tries to key up, it will not be allowed to transmit over the repeater system. So it's pretty cool technology. Even with these radios, you can remote listen. You can actually activate a microphone on a radio without anyone ever knowing that you've activated it. And you can listen in and see what people are talking about. Um, the the features that some of these radios come with are very, very nice. Um, and talking about radios can be a whole video in and of itself, but I'll just leave it at that. They're really nice. So anyway, he's still trying to get back to where everything is going because he made a wrong turn. Um, Now, while we're watching him trying to get turned around, his microphone's down there, and we see several times him having to reach forward, grab it, talk, put it back. I think in one of the other videos, someone has a microphone mount on the side of their MDT right here. And I've mentioned this before. Um, with the way technology is, I really want to see a radio system built to where all you have to do is reach down to your console and press a little button, and you can talk out loud without having to hold a microphone in your hand and then have to like unhook it, talk to it, and then hook it into somewhere else. I want to see a push to talk built into either the steering wheel itself or somewhere on the console where all your other switches and stuff are. I think that would be a really great invention. You can see this kind of technology with motorcycle police. They've got a little remote PTT button on the handle, so both their hands can be on the handlebars. All they got to do is reach forward with a thumb, press it with their thumb, and they can start talking on the radio and then let go. I really think that needs to make a transition to vehicles. And these manufacturers that produce police vehicles, Ford, Dodge, Chevy, if they're going to be making so much money off the government, then I think it's time for them to start adding some actual beneficial features. And they can on the steering wheel itself, it would be very easy for them to be able to designate one button or add a button to the steering wheel for a two-way radio. Put the button in, have that wire run out, come out to the console thing or whatever, and whether you're using Motorola or Kenwood, whatever, there could be that one wire that comes out, and when you hook your radio system into the vehicle, you can hook a microphone extension wire, whatever, into that wire, and then it'd be basically plug and play, so that when you're driving down the road, you can just use your thumb, two hands on the steering wheel, use your thumb, reach over, press the push to talk on the radio, and then release your thumb, and you're driving. Like, simple. Or a button down on the console where all the other switches are. You just reach down, press, talk out loud, and it picks up your voice, and you talk on the radio, release, put your hand back on the steering wheel. This old legacy way of picking the microphone up by hand out of a bracket, talking on it, and then trying to put it back in that little swivel bracket thing, like, it's time to get away from that old school shit. There's even a product out there that replaces, or it doesn't really replace, it's an attachment that goes on the back of your microphone and basically puts a big ass magnet on the back. That way you can stick that thing basically on your middle console. You just stick it right there, or on the place that you would normally put your little swivel bracket on. It's just another metal piece that you can just slap the magnet onto it. That way it takes away that fine motor skill of trying to put it into the bracket. You just slap the magnet on there, and it goes in place. That's a pretty good improvement. I like that option. But I think it's time. It's 2021. I think it's time for a paradigm shift in how we deal with two-way radio communications in a vehicle. There needs to be an easier solution, a safer solution for talking on the radio. And I think that solution is for these police vehicle manufacturers to start putting push to talk buttons on the steering wheel that can be hooked up to your normal radio manufacturer products, whether it be Motorola, Kenwood, or ICOM. One thing on the steering wheel, wire comes out in the console area, and whoever's installing the radios can connect the wires, and boom, it's good to go. That, in my opinion, needs to happen, and should have already happened. I don't know why we're in 2021 and that's not a thing yet. Anyway, moving on. All right, so this dude's already accessed the rifle that was in the front cab of the vehicle. We can hear that in the radio chatter. So this guy's still trying to get up, get caught up, get around to where they're at. All right, so I think he's joined in on the group pursuit now. Yeah. So boom, they come to a stop.
Get the fuck out of here. Go, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
So the shooting's already happened. This officer, he doesn't make it all the way up to the scene. He kind of rumbles around back here where the vehicles are. He actually ends up moving someone else's vehicle, presumably to make it easier for an ambulance to get through. I don't really know. And then he actually goes back to his vehicle. Then he takes off. And then as he's going along, he turned his camera off. So I don't really know what happens with this guy later on. I don't know if he shows back up and is like, hey, you're going to find two of my, or one of my taser darts in this guy. I don't know where this guy goes. He obviously doesn't link up with any supervisor or anything like that from the get-go like the other officer-involved shooting officers do. I don't know. I don't know what he does after this. Going to the second camera view. Now, this is the one I talked about. He had the microphone on the MDT itself. Now, we have an officer over here who's blocking traffic, and he's getting out. And he's in the trunk area of his vehicle, or the cargo hold vehicle of his area, presumably getting a rifle out. This officer's out. He's getting traffic to stop, giving them signals. This is the moment he could have gotten the rifle out. He didn't. We see he pulls his pistol out.
411 Ida, he's got the...
All right. So this officer already has his rifle out. Now, let me keep in mind, this is what I think this is the officer that was over here at the SUV, and now he's come up to here. He's got a rifle. So keep that in mind. I'm going to rewind it just a little bit so you can hear what's being said.
He's got the... 11 Ida, he's northbound Federal from 6th.
So he was...
411 Ida, he's got the...
So I think he was trying to say he's got the rifle. Now, up until this point, we hear radio traffic about this guy pointing the rifle. This officer right here, I think, had a really good line of sight and fire on this guy. He's actually out right in here. I think that this is a point where he could have shot. Really think he could have started putting rounds in the bad guy through that vehicle. Now this guy, all he has is his pistol. I think it would have been best if he would have got his rifle out as well. He didn't. All he did was rock his pistol.
411 Ida, he's got the...
But yeah, this officer over here with the rifle, I definitely believe he could have pumped some rounds into this dude right here and ended this a lot sooner than what it did.
11 Ida, he's northbound Federal from 6th.
Now imagine what the people are thinking. Like, here they are, they're seeing this cop car drive by, and then all these other cops pointing their guns at it. Like, that has to be some confusing shit to see for people.
411 Ida, hold the air. He's northbound.
So back to what I was talking about earlier. See what I mean? He's got like this old way of grabbing the microphone and talking on it and having it taken off that little bracket and put it back on its bracket. That's dumb. Like, we got all these buttons on these steering wheels now, and it would be so super easy if, you know, for example, Ford, since we see the Ford emblem here, it'd be so super easy if Ford could just add a little button right here, or even on the other side over here too, you know, add these little buttons and make them push the talk buttons for the radio system. And all you got to do is press it with your thumb, keep both hands on the wheel, you talk out loud on the radio. So much safer, so much more convenient.
6 coming up on 8. He's right here. Sorry, 7 Severn Place, right there, right in front of you. 11 Ida, still northbound on Federal.
Now, this is one style of MDT. I have the Tough Book, and what I do is I actually disconnect the microphone from the radio, and I'll run the wire through the handle that sticks out on the MDT for the Tough Book, and I'll run that wire down through it, and I actually have the microphone resting in that open spot of the handle for the Tough Book, and then I'll reconnect it back to the radio part. That way I can lift up on the microphone, talk on it, and then set it back down in the cradle, so to speak, of that handle on the Tough Book. Trying to explain it probably doesn't do any justice. I'll probably do a video of that later on to kind of explain what I'm talking about there.
Take him out as soon as possible.
Alright, cool. Fast forward some. Whoop, back it up. So he tries to do some pit maneuvering here.
11 Ida, we're eastbound 8th on Canosa. He does have the rifle out.
And also, you know, in this instance as well, there's nothing that says you can't just reach over and press that button and then just talk real loud. The microphone will still pick it up. It's not going to be as nice and clear and crisp sounding as you taking it off the hook and bringing it to your mouth. But you can certainly press that button and just talk real loud. And it's still going to pick you up. People are still going to hear you.
Waving the rifle out the window.
Alright, so he does more of a successful pit. Comes to a stop. Boom. And then gunshots. So he does a hell of a job dismounting from this vehicle, making an emergency egress. Now, when that happens, he loses a couple things. Gun magazine comes out here, and then radio comes loose. He takes the time, so what he's doing right now is he's grabbing that gun mag. So watch again, you'll see the gun magazine fall out right there, and then you see it over by his hand. Look at this. You can kind of see the gun magazine right there. So he grabs the gun magazine, he's putting it back in his pouch while holding the radio, gets it in there. Now he's adjusting the radio. that is a lot of time. He spends a lot of time fucking around with that shit while shots are being fired. So this goes into why I'm not a big fan of the open top pouches for magazines. You know, I know they're a very popular trend right now. Yes, they are quicker for reloading, but they're also a lot easier to lose your shit. So I am still a fan of the traditional old school way of little flaps over your magazine pouches. I like those. The magazine pouches are retained very well, so long as the snap doesn't come open. Now the radio itself, I'm assuming with this being a newer Motorola radio, that, you probably have that little Kydex little thing it snapped into. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of just some of these little Kydex inserts, or these little Kydex pouches where you just insert your thing into it. I'm a fan of lids and little snaps, little retention snaps to keep things in. So when it comes to radios, I like a traditional radio pouch that has that little fabric that goes over top of it and keeps it locked in place. Not a big fan of the slide your radio down into a Kydex holster and it just kind of snaps in place. Just the same as just like you would never be a fan or should never be a fan of using just a regular Kydex holster for duty work. It's just too much risk of it being able to fall out of the holster. Even if it clicks in and it does a kind of okay job of staying there, you just cannot rely on that for duty grade purposes or duty use. Like, if there's a risk of it coming out, there's a risk of it coming out. You need to have some type of retention on there. Now, he fucked around with this thing for a little too long, in my opinion. Should have just left it as it was. Leave the radio dangling if you have to, but get back in that fight. And you see the rifle on the ground here from the bad guy. And then, of course, they're getting the bad guy out. But not much else from this guy's point of view to see.
I saw, Vince, I'll be with you. Come here.
All right, third view. Now notice he's got a radio right here clipped to his door. And I believe that this was the guy, he's a transit officer, I believe. I think is what the side of his car says. But he's got a portable radio clipped to his door. You can actually see him try and talk on it.
Smash it. He's waving the rifle out the window.
So obviously, something like this is something he's been doing day after day after day, and it works. But in a dynamic, high-speed situation that goes from 0 to 100 real fucking quick, this don't work. So he loses the radio, then it goes down. And I like how he said, fuck the radio. Don't need it right now. Don't need it for a fight. So let's backplay this. So he picks his radio up off the ground, and he's got another radio down in the door pouch right here. So he's got like two separate portable radios, and I guess this is because of his position as a transit officer.
Scene safe.
Thank you, sir.
Now, going back into this, so like I said, back a lot more here. So communication is a great thing for a fight, yes. In this instance, fighting took precedence. So I really like how he dropped something, and he knows that he had to drop that radio. But he says the hell with this radio, and he commits himself to the fight. I like that. That radio is going to help us in the fight. He recognizes the threat. He engages that threat. He does the magazine change. Gets to go back to fight. He does the magazine change because he fires the slot lock. Now, I don't know if it was him or if it was from this guy, but there are some missed rounds here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 missed rounds, and potentially one right there. So that's 5. 5 that we can tell for sure have missed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So we'll move forward back to the fourth view. And this was, of course, after the shooting occurred. And his jacket obscured most of the footage. You know how jackets, for duty use, each side has like those little slats. Whether it's got a zipper on it or they're Velcro, and they're made to go over the gun holster so that your jacket doesn't obscure or cover up your gun holster. I kind of foresee the possibility of duty jackets in the future having some slits or some accommodations to the front of the jacket to be able to have the body camera stick all the way through and not cause any obstructions. This is actually an issue that I run into now with the winter months. Depending on which jacket I'm wearing, I can have part of my jacket include some of my body camera view, and I will try to zip my jacket up and have it zipped up to the underside of the body camera and have more of the body camera sticking out. That way it's not obstructed in any way. But then of course, from the body camera up, that's left unzipped. So I'm not really getting the full effect of my jacket when the whole top part of it isn't zipped all the way up. And it would be really nice if there was like a little opening to the front of the jacket that you could just kind of like slide the camera through that opening and over and have the camera essentially still attached to your uniform shirt or your vest or whatever, and just stick to the outside of that jacket. That's actually, like I said, I actually see that being a potential thing for the future, coming out versus taking your camera all the way off your uniform and then sticking it on your jacket. That's not a very viable option to me, because your jacket can come on and off so many times, and your camera wouldn't come off so many times, depending on how you got it mounted. So jackets with little camera slots, I see that as a thing in years to come. If they haven't come out already, I haven't seen anything like it, but I hope someone makes something like it. So you get that right really quick, and it's kind of hard to see, like I said, because of his damn jacket. But it looked like some of the rifle was sticking out a little bit. All right, let's back this up some. So with those rounds that went through, we can see some rounds right here in this vehicle. Oops. Yes, it's really hard to pause it right now, but you see bullet holes right there from where rounds missed that guy into that vehicle down there. So this is the guy that crawled out of the vehicle. His size, I would say, had a good factor in him being able to very quickly egress through the vehicle, crawling from the driver's side to the passenger side and out the window as quick as he did. If you're a bigger person, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do, especially when you got like all that shit in the middle of the car. You got the MDT and all that crap going on. I have in vehicle tactics classes been able to crawl out of the driver's side vehicle or driver's side seat into the passenger side seat area and go out the passenger window. As a bigger guy, 6'8", tall, and pretty big on the size, like a freaking lineman. I can do it, but I'm definitely not as quick as that guy. And so size is a good factor in being able to quickly egress from a vehicle like that. And if it's not something that you've done before, it's something that you should experience and go through. You should practice that. And if that means, grabbing a pool vehicle or something like that and taking it down there to the range and doing some training out of it, so be it. Take the pool vehicle, the one that nobody likes. If you fuck the vehicle up, fuck it up, so be it. Maybe that's justification for your agency to buy another vehicle. Other vehicles, you try using your current vehicle, but just understand that when you start crawling over and stuff like that, and you got your MDT there, there's a potential to break something. So I wouldn't do it in a vehicle that you're using for work, and it's mission critical, because if you screw that vehicle up, then you're probably for sure going to be stuck in a pool car, and it's not going to be as nice as yours. So I only recommend doing this kind of stuff in vehicles that you don't care about jacking up. And if you've got an old MDT that's broken, someone destroyed it somehow or destroyed on its own. Instead of getting rid of those things, keep those things. Don't keep them all, but keep a couple of them just for training purposes. Things that you don't care about destroying because it's already destroyed. And you can have a pull car with broken MDTs in there, what have you, and you can go through the training of making emergency egress from the vehicle, crawling over to the passenger side and out the window. So looking at his magazine pouches, they do look like they're the open top kind of style. It almost looks like there's one magazine missing from the pouch, and you only got one magazine in. So, but it's kind of hard to tell if everything going when I unpause it, it's going to go too quick to tell for sure. Again, not a big fan of those open top designs.
The district.
All right. So not much else to say about this video. There are a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of little things. Here we are again with another open top pouch. Sorry, sidetrack. Lots of different little things to cover in this video. Lots of little nuggets of information. Not much else to say about this. If you'd like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.